All right, guys, welcome to another edition of predictions episode here for the Cup race that is going to be tonight at Darlington. We're going to have the second race, of course, in 4 days at Darlington, weather pending. There's supposed to be rain later tonight, so that means that they might not get the race in, and then the forecast actually shows rain for tomorrow as well. Hopefully they can get it in tonight. I'm in my car right now. I'm at my work parking lot, pretty tired, but figured this is the only opportunity I had today to get the video in because I don't get off of work until 6:30, and obviously the race is scheduled for 6. For my sake, I hope it gets delayed because of rain. But without further ado, let's hop right into our picks. We'll make this kind of quick because I don't have much time right now. But anyway, we're going to start off with the players to stay away from. Of course, this is based off of both fantasy lineup and then obviously for sports gambling and betting, if you guys do that. Obviously, you can use this information for there when making your bet on who you're going to pick to win the race and whatnot. So drivers to stay away from today. Obviously, you're going to look at some of the drivers. Now, in the first race here, I said you could stay away from the rookies, and I'm going to say along the lines of Christopher Bell just because of how, I guess, terrible he's been this year. He has not driven good, and he has wrecked his equipment quite a bit, and mostly it's in single-car incidents. He just gets in an accident with himself. So we're going to stay away from Christopher Bell in the fantasy lineup tonight. I highly recommend it. Boyer actually had a pretty good run. He was also on my list last week of guys to stay away from because he has not performed well at Darlington in the past. And so he performed okay. He performed decent, had a top 15. And honestly, the way he was trending later in the race until he had some of the debris on the front splitter of his car, he ended up, of course, dropping back after that, a couple spots at least at the very end of the race. So anyway, guys, to stay away from here in this one. First driver that comes to mind to stay away from outside of Christopher Bell, of course, is going to be none other than Kyle Busch. So, Kyle Busch is a guy to stay away from. He hasn't performed well the last couple races. Finishing-wise, he finishes decent, but he's not been getting any stage points, and I believe he's still on the outside of the playoff cut line as well. I haven't looked at the standings since the last race outside of the top 10. So Kyle Busch one comes to mind. He didn't perform well last night. Now he is going to have a little bit better starting position tonight, obviously, because they invert the top 20. And the rest of the field beyond that point is based off of their finishing position from the other night. I just don't see any of those guys being able to have a chance to get Kyle Busch, sorry. Again, trying to do this on the fly. I don't see Kyle Busch performing well enough to at least not only compete for a win, but maybe even get stage points come stage end. They obviously can work on the car at the shop within the 4 days with the, I guess, the information that they have, of course, from running the race the other day. Now, that same information you can't necessarily apply in full because it was a day race, and this is supposed to be a night race, although it could end up being day again, depending on what day it is. But I would keep Kyle Busch out of your lineup. There's many more other drivers I'd rather have. Plus, when Kyle Busch gets on his Kyle Busch hot streak at some point this season, which you know he's going to at some point in time, you'd like to have more usages out of him. So really, those are really the only couple guys to stay away from. Really, there's a lot of decent guys you could pick for tonight, so we'll roll into the dark horses. Of course, dark horses, you got to say Jimmie Johnson. And the only reason Jimmie Johnson's a dark horse is because he hasn't won in now 100 races once he makes his start here tonight. So Jimmie Johnson, of course, he's starting a little bit deeper in the field. That's why I'm not necessarily going to have him on my fantasy team, but don't be surprised to see him up towards the front. Another guy, Byron, that wrecked again. Similar situation. He's starting a little further back, but he obviously had a very, very strong car. Might not get any stage points in stage one for either of those two guys, but they could definitely compete for a win by the end of the night. That is for sure. So, my pick to win the race, or I should say not necessarily my pick, at least not yet, but strong candidates that are going to have a shot to win the race tonight. Kurt Busch looked strong. I think a lot of the guys you saw that were strong at the end of the race when it was approaching nighttime are going to be the guys you're going to want on your team or who you might even end up picking, again, if it's a sports bet, for the race tonight. And that's because the temperature is going to be about the same as what it was finishing time. Obviously, track conditions and everything else. The only difference is it's going to be a green racetrack from the start of this race. But obviously, they got it going. They have a pretty good idea of what their setups are going to be. Chase Elliott's another guy that was coming through the field because he had a pit road speeding penalty a little earlier in the race. So he was coming through the field, got up to fourth. Martin Truex Jr. was coming through the field on multiple occasions, ended up finishing in the top 10. Erik Jones, again, he, like we mentioned the other day, he had 3 Darlington starts, now 4 Darlington starts, and he just came off his worst finish at Darlington, but that worst finish was 7th. So obviously he knows the track well. He's 4 for 4 on top 10s. Kevin Harvick, strong candidate. Probably going to be one of the tough ones to beat tonight. Kevin Harvick, of course, just won here the other day. He's going to be strong. And Alex Bowman as well. Bowman's been on a hot streak this season. I think he's going to be a good candidate. So now let's see exactly who I have in my starting lineup for the race this week and my pick for the win. All right, guys. So I've jumped up to 956 points after the last race, by the way, and I'm ranked 8,100th, right on the nose. Of course, we went up over 4,000 after last week because we were in the 10,000s. We had a really good week at Darlington in race 1. I think we're going to have a good race here tonight, too. We got a lot of information to go off of from that last race, of course. And then you got also pretty much every driver that I had stated is going to be on my fantasy team today. So instead of going through pick by pick and explaining why I had them like usual, I kind of tried to explain that earlier. Again, I don't have as much time to do this video, at least today. So we'll take a look at the lineup here. Erik Jones, he's on my fantasy team again. And that's simply because he is strong at Darlington. It's only the second time we've used him. Kevin Harvick, also going to be on my team. He was the last-minute substitution for Kyle Busch when Kyle Busch had to go to the rear, and Kyle Busch did not prove to me strong enough to at least get him in the lineup at that same track at Darlington again on a short notice here, just 3 days after the fact. So again, Kevin Harvick is going to be in the lineup. I know this is going to be the 5th time I've used him already in the year, and that's kind of worrisome you could think of, but he's on such a hot streak right now. The only driver to finish in the top 10 every single one of these races. Again, coming off of a win, and even Phoenix you can look at. Last 2 races, top 2. Alex Bowman finished 2nd. He also won at Auto Club earlier this year. He's probably the 2nd best driver so far this season, in my opinion, right behind Kevin Harvick. Then you got Chase Elliott in the Well, I don't know if he's running Napa, I guess, tonight. I didn't really look at the paint schemes. But anyway, Chase Elliott in the 9 car. He's on my team again. He started working his way through the field a lot later in the race. Again, that's going to work out for him. Kurt Busch, he's had a solid last few years here. After that last race, if you want to include now the last 7 races, he has finished inside the top 10 at Darlington. And Martin Truex Jr., of course, he was coming through the field. Really the only Toyota outside of Erik Jones that I really feel comfortable on my team. Denny Hamlin's obviously a good pick too. He's usually pretty good at Darlington, and he did finish in the top 10 as well. If I remember right, I think he finished 5th, but I could be wrong on that. But I know he did finish top 10. Tyler Reddick is another good one. Actually, he probably could have been one of the other dark horses, I guess, as well, too. So we'll throw him under the dark horse section as well. Obviously, coming off of a good finish at this very track. Top 10 for a rookie, first ever start here in the Cup Series. And also, Tyler Reddick, is definitely high on some people's radar, especially if you haven't used them yet this year. Not a bad garage driver. I would stay away from the Penske guys for the most part, and now my pick's to win. It was a toss-up for me to pick between Bowman and Harvick. It's tough to win at the same track twice in a year, rather yet twice in a week, but I really think Kevin Harvick is a threat. I'm going to pick Kevin Harvick to win the race. Playing it safe just for the bonus points, so I'm going to take Kevin Harvick to win the race tonight, and Alex Bowman to win the first 2 stages. In case he gets a stage win, I'll get 10 bonus points there, and obviously because I have Harvick winning, I'm taking Ford in victory lane. So who are your guys' pick in tonight's race? Again, mine's Kevin Harvick. I could obviously see a bunch of different cases for a couple different guys. Pretty much anyone on my fantasy team I could see winning tonight. So again, what's your pick down below? Hopefully you're excited. And I will see you for the post-race analysis. I'll get recorded on that later tonight after the race or tomorrow. Whenever the race ends up happening, it'll be soon after. And I'll be off of work for the next few days, so I can easily take my time, get the video in full length, and actually go detail by detail like I did on the last one. So, again, thanks for everybody joining. Hit the subscribe button for more daily NASCAR content, such as videos like this. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next video.